Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman,
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
and together we can make a difference.
Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with Trooper Talk. Trooper Wellman has brought a special guest, Trooper Abate. Now, Trooper Abate, I have a lot of questions for you, okay? The first one that I'd like to start off with is, you drive the ghost car.
I do.
Ah, yes. So when I saw Sergeant Whitmarsh at the IPOF meeting the other day, and he has the gray one with the ghost. Now, the purpose of the ghost car is not to fool anyone, right? It's not to, you're not putting the lights on there, so you're not showing. The purpose is that we want to save lives here on Trooper Talk. And so in going into the life of a trooper, one of the things is, you drive that car. And I'm sure a lot of people ask questions. And so let's ask some of those questions and then you can answer them.
Yes, sir.
What's it like to drive the ghost car?
Well, it's nice because it's obviously different. So it's nice to have something different, but it does take a bit more attention to drive the car. When you're running lights and sirens and you're trying to clear an intersection, it's not as visible as the normal patrol car. So there is some challenges with it, but there's some positives with it too that go along with it. It's nice to sometimes be able to get in and out of traffic, to being a little bit undercover, I guess you could say, or it really identifies when there's a motorist driving around town and they just completely fly right by you because they're so involved with their life and they're not paying attention on what's going on the road, that they're just like tunnel vision on the road, that they drive by a completely marked patrol car. It is a ghost car, but it's still marked, but they're just so involved with distractions, the radio, cell phone, or just stress in their own life that they just blow right by you in a ghost car and not even know it.
I always talk to Trooper Wellman about when people drive fast and stuff like that. You know how to drive a car. Not that all the troopers don't, but I'm saying, like, you especially know how to handle a motor vehicle at high rates of speed. The tires, the braking, right? Most cars cannot do that. So when they blow past you, that's one of the things that we talk about is the speed. One of the two things that really is killing us here in the valley. Talk to us about the speed.
Well, a lot of people, they like to think that they know how to control a vehicle, and maybe for the most part, on an amateur level, they do. But like you're saying, I started racing when I was 10 years old, and I did that for about 13 years. And then when I eventually came over to the Highway Patrol, they recognized that, and I've taken over what we call our EVOC, our Emergency Vehicle Operation course. So I'm the lead instructor and coordinator for all of Southern Nevada through the Highway Patrol side. So what brings me back to your question is, people think they might know how to control a car, but by the time they recognize that they've done some sort of input to the car that upsets the vehicle platform and they lose control of the car, they don't realize that until it's too late. And the only way to notice that and the only way to recognize that is to have a high level of training and experience where the vehicle is past its 100% limit. And with our training that we do with our newer drivers, our newer cadets that are in the academy, and the training that we do with our recertification that we do every year with our current troopers, we go out on the track and we find that 100% and we push the car past its limit so that we're able to identify as a driver what we've done wrong to make that car go above its limit, and not only recognize it but able to correct it. And like you said, speed on these crashes is the main factor of these crashes and of our fatal accidents in particular. Speed is the number one factor, and that's what's jeopardizing our roadways right now.
And so, Trooper Wellman, we talk about the fact of, you get the take-home car and, and all these type of things. But, these roadways, they're safe, but you need one person to create an unsafe roadway for others. And so when we talk about the speed, one of the things that's really important too is the fact of the recertification, right? That going through the training, and we're always trying to get people to join. You can look in the camera here. Just say NevadaStatePolice.com. It's okay. You can say it.
NevadaStatePolice.com.
That's all right. we try to get as many people as we can for the recruitment. And so in recruitment, that's one of the things that we don't get a chance to talk about, right?
Sergeant Broadcheck just did a whole segment the other day on our emergency, vehicle operation out there at the track, where Trooper Abate, actually rode with a reporter in the vehicle, let them experience what we deal with, how we train on the track, and really just walk in our shoes and see how actually challenging it is when you're traveling at high rates of speeds. And that's not even including when you start adding all the other elements into operating your lights and siren, talking on the radio, trying to remember where you're going to, and going through in and out of traffic, keeping our motoring public safe while we're traveling at high rates of speeds. It's very, very important that we stay up and current on our training, and that we're basically subject matter experts in it, because we don't want to put anybody else's lives in jeopardy as well when we're trying to get to these emergency situations. So that's why troopers like Trooper Abate are just they are just invaluable at our department, because he is training all of our new recruits and continuously training all of our troopers and our parole and probation officers. Everyone within the department goes through his training, and I think that's a pretty awesome thing to have on your resume there. That
100%.
Everybody's safety in our community is pretty much in our hands when we're traveling, with lights and sirens, and that's a reflection off of his training.
And so when Trooper Wellman goes to a scene and someone has been deceased, okay, you may have been chasing that person, right? So there's a little bit of a difference, because you're before and she sometimes is after, okay? On Trooper Talk, we want to put us in your mindset so we never have to push you to that limit. Okay? So let's talk about the fact of the psychological. When you're faced with the fact that someone is now in front of you traveling at a high rate of speed, and you as the trooper have to now psychologically turn off everything in your life to now focus on what it is that you're doing. Talk to us about that.
Right. So everything that we do, it has a repercussion to what's surrounding us, and most of the time, all the time, it's the public, right? So we've got to be picky on what we chase and how we chase them if we do decide to do so. It's a constant pendulum in our brain as far as weighing out the risk to the public versus the gain of capture of this person. And when you first initiate a pursuit, you might have all the elements to have that way out, that I need to chase this person, we need to apprehend him, we need to get him off the road. But when you're in a vehicle pursuit, it's constantly evolving, and we get paid for our brain, how we analyze things. It's not just go out there, floor it, and catch this guy until the wheels fall off. We've got to constantly evaluate the pursuit and say, hey, this was worth it in the beginning, but now the risk to the public is not worth the reward of the capture of this subject, and we might have to abort that pursuit. Obviously, if we were for troopers and officers and law enforcement, that's the last thing they want to do, but we have to operate with the public in mind too. So it's a constant battle weighing that out.
Yeah. And so we talk about something that's really important, which is the wrong way driving. Where we have to, find these people that are doing the wrong way driving. But the thing that we don't talk all the time about is the speed. And when we always show our graphics, right, we always say speed and impairment are the two number one and number two things. And so when we combine them together, it's even worse. And so that's something that we're seeing on our roadways too, that people are sometimes being impaired and doing the speeding at the same time.
Yeah, like you said, our top two contributing factors for our fatalities in Nevada, so statewide, is speed and impairment. And, you know, one in itself, if you're speeding, you know, you're putting yourself and the public in jeopardy, and you're looking at possible fatal consequences by every 5 miles that you increase your speed. But now if you're going to also add impairment into that, again, nothing good's going to come from that. It's just going to have fatal consequences. And like we always talk about, why even put yourself in those positions? We have so many options out there, so many rideshare services. I mean, most of the time the bus is almost free, especially on special events. We have so many casinos or hotels that are available that you do not have to get behind the wheel. And we've even talked about with other officers how you can just walk home, ride your bike home. Don't even get, just take the whole motor vehicle out of the equation together. And no matter what, there's never a good excuse to get behind the wheel impaired. And then if you are impaired and your speeds are increasing, you're just playing with fire. So nothing good's going to come from that.
Yeah. And so we got some new pictures here. I know this is your first time here, but Trooper Wellman noticed right away. So we have to do the NevadaStatePolice.com, and let me tell you why. Because we're trying as hard as we can for recruitment. We know that it's difficult, right? But the thing is that we're trying. And so if we keep trying, hopefully we get one trooper. And if we can get one, then maybe we can get two. You know what I mean? We had on here the trooper Micah May and the Sergeant Ben Jenkins. We always give tribute to the fallen. It's very, very important. And so and in saying that, Sergeant Smacka, we can look in the camera right there and we can wave at her.
His mom always
His
watches.
mom always watches. See, it's very funny, right? We started out with nothing. We got 1 day a week on the Channel 13, which was at 3:54. We kept doing, we kept filming. I kept asking, please, please, please. And then finally now they gave us 3 days a week. And so we show on Thursday, we show on Sunday, and we show on Tuesday. And so the best part about it is we do different clips of the show in each one, so each one is not the same. And then
Cool.
people can go to troopertalk.com and then they can watch the whole entire video.
Okay.
And so anyway, so we have some new pictures and stuff like this. So now we're going to get to some pictures and videos. And so the thing is, with the purpose of this, we used to show no pictures and we just used to talk. And then what we found is that when we show the pictures, people actually respond better. And so now we're going to go to that, okay? Impairment suspected in wrong way crash that shut down the 215 Beltway. Now, we talk about impairment, we talk about that, but those people on the right are just trying to get from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. And now their whole entire day or whatever is delayed because someone made a choice. Talk to us about the choice.
So, the preliminary details of this crash, things I want you to take into consideration while looking at this. The sun's up, okay? So think to yourself, we always talk about why would a vehicle travel wrong way? And the first thing that usually comes to mind is impairment, right? We suspect impairment, or maybe a medical episode, or maybe they're not from here. There's all these different things that, as we're responding to these calls, when we get reports of a reported wrong way, we're playing in our mind, what's happening? Why are they traveling wrong way? For this situation, we did suspect impairment in this crash. So it's daytime. People are literally commuting to and from work to going home. If I'm not mistaken, it was around 5 o'clock p.m. And so rush hour, this is the Northern Beltway, heavy construction right now in this area. So that was another thing we were taking into consideration. Was it confusing? Maybe the construction wasn't clear. Maybe a sign fell. Who knows, right? In this particular area, it was not confusing. We did go back and double check everything. This passenger car got onto the freeway wrong way, traveled, I believe she was traveling eastbound in the westbound, and actually went head on with this pickup truck. Both sustained pretty serious injuries. We did think we were going to have a possible fatality, but luckily they both were okay. It was a male and a female, and they were both transported, and we do suspect impairment. And it's just, again, I just want to point out that it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is, there's impaired drivers on our roadways, and it's not okay. And that could be you just picking your kids up from school, going home, and now that person just put everybody's lives in jeopardy. For what? And luckily everyone was okay in this crash, to an extent, of course, but so many lives could have been lost. And we, from the time we got the first call, because remember, we appreciate the public's assistance so much. If you see something, say something. We can't be everywhere at all times. So if you see a wrong way vehicle, if you see a vehicle traveling reckless, or anything that you feel is a danger to the public, please don't hesitate to call 911. Star NHP will get you directly to us quicker because time is of the essence. But if you can call 911, remember you are exempt from the cell phone law if you need to report an emergency situation. And we are so grateful for it because of our motoring public for this situation specifically. It was 3 minutes that we got the first call on this. And by the time we started getting up there, within 3 minutes, the vehicle had went head on with a truck. And so those 3 minutes, even if a trooper was in the area, I don't know if it could have made a difference, but it still got resources there much quicker. It had medical en route quicker. And we were able to put on our electronic billboards letting people know traffic delays or, take alternate routes, this, that. And everything was moving much faster because of the actions of the public. So we thank them for that. And you just never know, because medical got there quicker, because we got there quicker, it possibly could have saved the lives of these two individuals because they are here today. So again, it doesn't matter what time of the day it is. It comes down to a personal responsibility and accountability of individuals. And if you even have one drink and you do not feel okay to get behind the wheel, or you take your prescribed medications and something just feels off today, don't put yourself in that situation. Don't get behind the wheel. Call a friend, take an Uber, or just stay home, because it's not worth it. You'll find yourself in situations such as this, and you may not be as lucky.
Yeah, it's just horrible. The thing is, I go for a drive every Sunday, in my car, and I go see the lieutenant at his grave, and I put the patches and the coins and all that. And 2 Sundays ago or whatever, when we had the impairment, at the 2:32 in the morning or whatever it was, like, it's too much. And that's why we keep talking about this, right? But the thing is that Trooper Wellman brings up a very good point, which is this is in the middle of the day where the sun is out, where person X is just driving down the road because I was just talking to my employee about this, about the thing that happened 2 Sundays ago or whatever, right?
Oh, the town square.
Right? Because it's like they were doing nothing, you know what I mean? Like, they were just driving home, right? And so, like, this person was, I'm not saying, whatever they were doing, but like they were just simply driving their car from point A to point B. And I say that if you want to die, jump off a bridge. These people are killing our society, and they are making a difference in such a negative way on our roadways. And so that's why we need to do everything we can to stop these people from doing this. Go ahead, tell me.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, one person's selfish decision to get behind the wheel impaired can affect multiple people and for the rest of their lives. In the beginning, before rideshare and things like that, it was not necessarily acceptable, but like Ashley was saying, or Trooper Wellman was saying, we've got all these resources that there's no excuse for it. If you know that we live in a 24-hour city, so it would be naive to think that nobody's going to drink, right? So, but you go out and you know you're going to drink, you can easily prepare for that with rideshare, with hotel rooms, with multiple resources, especially being in a 24-hour town. Nothing closes, so there's no excuse for this. And then if you put yourself in the victim's shoes, like you've brought up, okay, I'm just driving around, picking my kids up from work, and some drunk driver or impaired driver hits my vehicle and does whatever harm to me or my family. It's inexcusable. So people need to think in that perspective before they get behind the wheel, and they need to make the plans prior to going out and having a good time on our town, because when you're impaired, you don't make the right decision. So you need to pre-plan that and either get a taxi, rideshare, or hotel room, what have you.
And we talked about it the last time. Trooper Wellman, she did a little bit of drinking with her friends, and she did the 0.5. She had a home breathalyzer thing.
0.5.
0.05.
0.05,
Well,
right?
I wouldn't
Right.
There's-
And here's the
no,
thing.
that's why I did the PBT.
And she said that she did not feel comfortable getting behind the. She was home. She wasn't getting in a car.
Right.
I'm just saying, she didn't feel comfortable at even below the legal limit of operating a motor vehicle. And so the thing is that we say, even if you have one drink, please don't operate the motor vehicle. You may be below the legal limit, but we don't know how that impairs you. And so it's very, very difficult, because we are in the 24-hour town, and so we're trying to do everything we can to stop this impairment of drugs or alcohol or anything like that, right?
Yeah, we have to break the cycle somewhere, and that's why I just always stress it comes down to personal accountability. And if everybody was accountable for their actions and planned ahead, like Trooper Abate said, and had already their agenda in place before they even went out that night, then you're taking away the whole trying to figure out what you need to do, how to get home. Oh no, I drank too much, or I didn't think I was going to drink this much.
Yes.
And you're just taking away, I'm going to have to leave my car here. What if it gets broken into? And now you're stressing because you don't want to leave your car, this, that. And to take away all of that stress, and you don't even have to think about it. Just already have a plan in place, like you said, plan ahead, and know how you're getting to and from your destination.
Yeah, it's
And
very,
that way you
very.
can go have a good time and you don't have to stress.
I agree. We go out and have a good time, but just plan ahead. That's a good one. Every time, it's interesting. Every time we get a trooper to come on here, we think of a different thing.
Yeah.
The one time, I forget who it was, we brought one of the troopers on, and he said about the walking to the bar.
Yeah, it was,
Right? Like, we were like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. There's a lot of bars. Why would you get in a car? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so every time we come on, we think of it different things. And that's what makes it special. And that's what maybe somebody's going to latch on to, so they go, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Multi-vehicle crash causes delay on northbound I-15 at Sahara. Wasn't this morning?
This was yesterday, I think, or Sunday or something. It was just a couple days ago,
So
unless you remember working it.
there
No, I don't work the weekends.
looks like a lot of
I
tow
think it was
trucks.
Sunday.
And so again, I look at a few different things here. The troopers have to be on this crash to make sure that no one is going to, that the roadways are safe and all that. And then the more troopers that are here, or the less troopers that can be out trying to catch these people who are driving impaired and doing all these type of things. And so this looks like a very messy scene. And so,
When crashes can be prevented, which majority of them, 9 out of 10, are preventable, and that's why we call them a crash, not an accident. When they can be preventable, it's frustrating because, like you're saying, it takes so many resources to now deal with this scene and get it cleaned up so the motoring public stays safe and get traffic flowing again, when, like you're saying, we could actually be focusing on other issues such as, slowing people down, or maybe there's other emergencies we need to respond to, and we're tying up all these resources now because of the actions of maybe somebody not paying full attention.
right.
You know?
And so, one of the things now, let's talk about the roadways and the fact of, people think that the I-15 is the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You know what I'm saying? It's very easy. We talked also about last week, which was a very interesting thing, the zipper, right? Where you have the cars, right? We never talked about that before. But the thing is that it's very easy to be cutting in and out of cars until all of a sudden another car moves in your lane, or you're not paying attention, or and when you're on the racetrack or you're in a controlled environment, it's much different than when you're in an uncontrolled environment. Talk to us about those differences.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're on a racetrack, you're 100% focused. Your mind and your body's working together, and we call hitting our marks. There's marks on the racetrack that you're trying to come within inches of, and it takes a lot of focus to do that. Now, everybody on the track that you're racing against, if they're racing, they're competitive, so they're trying to do the best that they can with the equipment that they can. So everybody's got that 100% focused dialed in. Now, that's different from if you're on the roadway. People are just driving. Some people are focused. Some people are doing their makeup. Some people are eating lunch. Some people's cars are driving themselves right now. So everybody has a different mindset on the roadway, and although they do share the same mindset of getting from point A to B, what is in between that is different for all drivers. Some people are in a rush, and some people don't mind going slow. So everybody's agenda is a little bit different on the roadway, and it's not, and you can't predict it. Whereas on the racetrack, you can predict it because you know that this person in front of you, his goals and his marks that he's aiming for are the same as yours. So there brings a lot more variables out when you're driving on the roadway with people with different intentions than if you're driving around a racetrack where everybody's sharing the same goal, and that's winning or going as fast as they can around the racetrack.
Yeah, it's interesting. You don't, and that's why I love the perspective, because a person is trying to get from point A to point B, maybe in a way, and you're not in control of what everyone else is doing. Where on the race, like, everyone's trying to get to the same point, right, like, as fast as they can, or hitting those. What'd you say? Hitting the mark.
Hitting the marks. Yeah, we have that
okay.
apex on the track, which is crucial. So everybody's trying to hit the apex,
and so that's what's interesting, and that is a big difference from a person traveling on a roadway, where others, like you said, are maybe doing other things, right?
So I used to actually, there was a go-kart track in town in my younger years. I used to work out at the track in my teenage years. And when I wasn't racing, we'd have local races. I did more national races. So when the local races were in town, I would work those, and cars would crash, and I was one of the guys responsible for retrieving the cars off of the track. So I used to, when I was working there, I was really comfortable taking these cars off the track because of the drivers that were surrounding me. They were hitting their marks, and that was the goal. They weren't any kind of distracted driving. So that was a big difference when I came from working off of a racetrack onto the highway, and still retrieving these cars off of the highway when they'd crash. But now I'm surrounding myself with the motoring public, which isn't paying as much attention as somebody would be on a racetrack. Yeah, we teach in our training, your hands follow where your eyes are looking. So you're driving.
I learned it from him.
Yeah.
Telephone pole,
Okay.
or what, didn't we say that the last time?
Yeah, I was telling him that,
Somebody drove into
they'll
a
crash
telephone.
off in the middle of nowhere, and there's one like electrical pole, and somehow they hit it, and it's because they looked at it, and so that's where they went.
So the same thing goes with us. We're working on the side of the road. The looky-loos are looking at us, or looking at our lights, and your hands follow where your eyes are looking. So that's the worst part of this job, is just the danger of being on the roadway, and having to work the roadway with the motoring public right next to you.
And before we get to the next picture, just talk to us about the fact of what it's like to be in your shoes, to be able to train everyone. To the fact of that you, right, as a person, right, nothing to do with you being a trooper, nothing with any that you've done, like you as a person that has heart. Talk to us about what that's like to train everyone.
Well, it's pretty awesome. And, you know, I train just out of the goodness of my heart. I don't get any extra pay for it, or actually, it kind of hinders my family life, because where we do train, we train out in Pahrump. It's called Spring Mountain, and they have a racetrack out there, and they're gracious enough to give us full reins of their track, but they give it to us after hours, which, you know, we're not paying for it. We're asking for something for free, and they're nice enough to give it to us, but we can't get out onto the track till 4 p.m. So I'm normally work day shift. I've got a young son of mine and a wife at home, and that's not great for my schedule, but I choose to do it because it's a passion of mine. And like I've told you, I started racing when I was 10 years old, and I did that for 13 years. And racing is different than being a state trooper, but manipulating the vehicle and understanding the vehicle platform and how to control it, the basis of that directly correlate to racing. And I have learned through my experience of racing how to properly manipulate a car, and how important it is to be smooth with the inputs of the car, the steering wheel, the brakes, the throttle. And I've figured out these things, and they're no secret. Anybody that has experience racing and is any good at it knows what needs to be done. But I have a passion for being able to share those things that I've learned on to our troopers and on to our cadets that are in our academy hiring on, to know that the insight that I'm giving them is above the standard, and as a result of that, it's keeping, one, the troopers that I'm training safe, but secondly, as a result of that, keeping everybody on the roadway safe too.
Yeah, and so what do you have to do? You have to train, like Trooper Wellman drives the SUV, and then you drive the truck. So you have to do them both, right? Like you have to be almost an expert in all the vehicles, right?
Yes and no. You're 100% right. The SUV is different than the Charger, but it's just like firearms. It's all the foundation. If you're teaching the proper foundation, you could shoot any gun. If you're teaching the proper foundation of driving, you could drive any motor vehicle, whether it be a car or a semi-truck. It's all about the foundation of the controls of the vehicle and the inputs and how you're manipulating them. So yes, you do need to be mindful of the platform that you're driving, but nothing changes as far as of how you're operating it. You're operating both of the vehicles the same. One has a limit, earlier limit than the other. But I'll tell you what, with these new Ford Explorers, they outperform the Charger. I've taken the Ford Explorer to the racetrack against my 2019 Charger, which is all-wheel drive, and I was 2 seconds faster in the Ford Explorer on the track than the Charger. So everybody looks at the SUV like, oh,
yeah, I was just gonna say, right?
It's a grocery getter, you know, like
right.
that car can't perform it. That car's got 400 horsepower, and so it's faster in a straight line than our Chargers. And it's faster in the turns than our Chargers. You turn that car and it turns. It doesn't lean. It doesn't roll. The tires barely squeal. It goes exactly where you want it to go. So Ford did a great job of creating that car. And yes, I have a Charger. I think it looks a little cooler. But if I was on the track, I would definitely take the Explorer.
Yeah. And let's say that part of the NevadaStatePolice.com. I mean, I don't know how when you join they decide what car you get, but let's just say this: there's differences, right? And so part of the NevadaStatePolice.com is the fact that if you join, that you can do the parole and probation, and you can do all these other things, and drive these different types of cars. And there might be somebody out there that really enjoys, like you, the passion of the driving, to want to then not only teach to the troopers, but the fact of to get people off of our roadways, right? Because somebody who does the racing really has passion for the driving, right?
Definitely.
Because it's I don't know, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but is it really about the experience, right? And more so than the speed, right? Because you can just drive as fast as you want, but it's like the experience. Would that make sense?
Definitely, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
I get a little better experience driving the Charger, even though it doesn't perform as well as the Explorer. But
Right.
that like you said, that's my choice, and as of right now, I'm able to make that my choice
Yeah.
on what vehicle I want to drive, and but
They do look cooler
the-
with the ghost thing. You know what I'm saying?
the ghost is hard to give up.
All right, let's see what we got for this one. I-15 after a multiple car crash. Okay, so we're talking about the I-15 on the crash here. And so, there's a lot of debris on the roadway. And that debris takes a lot of time to clean up, right? And so, again, this is what time? I mean, what time was this?
So actually, Sergeant Smacka called me on this call this morning at, I think it was like 5:30 a.m. And it was in the area of IR-15 southbound at St. Rose. So if you were headed like towards California. What happened, the preliminary details on this crash was that black passenger car right there, for unknown reasons, failed to maintain its marked travel lane, and they traveled into the shoulder, striking the guardrail. And as you can see, the guardrail is now blocking the one and the two travel lanes, so the left and the one next to it, which then caused four other vehicles to then strike all the debris and the guardrail as well. One vehicle did actually overturn when it struck all the debris and the chaos and everything. 3 individuals were transported, one from that vehicle as well as 2 from the one that overturned. Luckily, no one sustained any life-threatening injuries, but 4 vehicles, the ripple effect, right? Because of the actions of one vehicle, and I don't know exactly why they failed to maintain their travel lane, but because of the actions of one had a ripple effect, which then caused 4 other vehicles to be involved and resulted in a vehicle overturning. And that's why we can't stress the seriousness of paying full attention at all times. Let's say this driver, because now we're playing what caused it. Maybe this driver was tired. It's 5:30 in the morning. Should they have been driving? Maybe not. Maybe you should have waited, got some more sleep before you got behind the wheel, because now look, you almost just killed individuals or yourself. Was this individual impaired? We'll have to go down that route. Or were they playing on their phone? Were they looking at the radio? I mean, there's so many different things that could have happened. Either way, they failed to maintain their travel lane, and the ripple effect was they caused 4 other vehicles to be hurt and get involved. And now we have all these resources out here. The travel lanes were closed. I don't even know if they're completely open yet, actually. So I know for a fact that they were closed for minimum 4 hours because they had to clean all the debris, as well as DOT has to put up a new guardrail for the safety of the motoring public or a crash car. Like anytime an impact attenuator is struck, we have to put a crash truck in case somebody else strikes it. But the guardrail, they do like to put up some barriers temporarily until they can get out there and repair it fully. But it's just a huge ripple effect because of the actions of one, and luckily no one was seriously injured.
And let's talk about what Trooper Wellman said. Let's talk about the fact that when we're driving down the road and we're just driving straight, right? We have our hands on the wheel, we have one hand, we have 2 hands, whatever it is that we're doing, right? And something comes into the road. Maybe an animal, maybe a pothole, whatever it is, or something like this. Oversteering when you're speeding is, and I'm not saying these people were doing it, so we're talking just in a generalized sense here. Does that make sense? Nothing to do with this particular crash, right? But oversteering means that someone doesn't know how to properly use their that causes these things too.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't know the right word, the terminology, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, so you bring up a good point. If an animal, object, even another vehicle comes into your lane, turning and trying to avoid that whatever that is the worst thing you can do, especially at highway speeds. Okay, and it's even a lot of people don't know this, but it's unfortunate. I don't know if it's unfortunate, but there's a law that if some vehicle comes into your lane and you swerve to avoid contact with that vehicle that's coming into your lane,
Okay,
and you
yes.
hit somebody else, you're at fault for that. So the best thing to do is any kind of object, if it's in the roadway or another vehicle, if it's coming into your lane, the best thing to do is to stay
It's in a straight line of where you're trying to go, right?
right. I was trying to stay like confident in your lane. You don't want to make any kind of abrupt movements with the steering wheel. The thing with hitting an object, you're going to do minimal damage. You might do some damage to your car, but swerving, it gets the potential of flipping your car, hitting another motorist, doing something like this. So yes, it's kind of the best of two evils. Swerving is definitely the last thing you want to do, and you're gonna cause more aggravation for yourself and possibly people around you.
So you would just say, like, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but you would just say then generally the best thing to do is just try to slow down.
Slow down.
Right, like, you know what I mean? Try to apply the brakes as best as you could then instead of
But keep that steering wheel straight. Don't.
Right.
And you're gonna need to hit the object.
Right. And yeah, go.
And then, it also plays, make sure you have enough distance between you and the car in front of you, because say something like this happens,
Right.
and now you have the domino effect. If you have enough distance between you and the car in front of you, and you're traveling at 65 miles an hour, or your speed, hopefully you have enough reaction time to apply your brakes and stop and decrease your speed before making contact. Every situation is going to be different, but if you do, just as a precaution, if you do already have that distance between you and the car in front of you, you're setting yourself up for success. So just helps.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a good point, and that comes back to the training, right? You know what I mean? Like, if you're on a racetrack and you see those guys and they're next to each other, you know what I mean? Like, they're on a controlled environment. You know what I mean? You're not trying to be, the I-15 of the Motor Speedway and, be 3 inches from somebody's bumper. And that's a really good point, because if something should happen, who knows what happened here, you know what I mean? But that gives you enough reaction time to then slow down, right? What is the proper reaction time for the car to be behind you? What is it? It's 1 car length for every 10 miles an hour or something like that?
Well, that's like a rule of thumb, but it actually backs up to something even more rudimentary than that. Is just looking far enough ahead. People are just so focused on the front bumper of their car or the front bumper of the car in front of you. If you can look further ahead, further down the road, and that's what we teach too in our emergency vehicle driving, is looking far enough ahead. That's going to slow everything down, and that's going to expand that reaction time that you have. So if you do the breakdown of speed, you can figure out how much distance that 1 car for every 10 miles an hour. That's a good rule of thumb. But it takes the normal person that's not expecting it. It takes a normal person 1.5 to 2 seconds just to react. That's just to say, oh, there's something, the cars are stopping in front of me. I need to hit the brakes now. If you're traveling at 70 miles an hour, you're going about 140 feet per second. That's 280 feet in 2 seconds. That's how much distance
Before
before you even start hitting the brakes. Right. So looking further ahead down the roadway, you'll be able to identify that more quickly, and you'll be able to react more quickly, which in time will help your reaction time and get the car stopped if need be.
Like more of a defensive driving, right? Like like in that way, right? And so again, that's a great thing to talk about, right? The fact of, I guess you could only look ahead if you're able to slow your mind down. Would that be a fair,
Well, looking ahead does slow your mind down, because you're looking so far ahead, you're processing these things before you get to them. So that's a great way of thinking of picturing it. Looking ahead will slow your mind down,
right?
And it slows down if you need to do a evasive maneuver, because you've processed it that much quickly and you're not so startled by it.
It's a great. God, I know you want to say something. Go ahead.
It's so funny because I actually haven't thought about that for probably almost 11 years.
Yeah.
My first field training officer, Trooper Moses, actually told me that my first day driving in the car, we're driving, and one of the first things he told me was, I want you to look ahead. Don't look beside, like, obviously I'm looking in my peripheral, but because when I'm patrolling, I'm looking at the cars next to me. He's like, they already know you're here. Stop. They already know you're here. Like, yeah, you can look at plates and whatnot. He's like, but you need to look ahead. That's where you're going to see things happening. That's where you're going to see traffic infractions. But also, it was to teach me my reaction time so that I could react if there was an emergency up ahead or if, I needed to slow down and things like that. And I subconsciously drive like that every single day in my personal vehicle and my patrol car, and I don't even think about it, but I'm always looking up ahead to see what's going on because, like you always said, they already know I'm there. And like you and your ghost car, they might not know, but I probably haven't thought about that for 11 years that I subconsciously do that every time.
Yeah, and we talked when Trooper Wellman went with her family to the California. We talked about the fact of being able to look in the car for the 360 degrees. And so for me, because I always said, like, I don't really look in the rear view mirror, right, to see this, you know what I mean? And so now I do. And so the interesting thing is that gives you now that 360 degree view, right? Because you're not just looking like this, you're actually looking straight ahead. So
like when you're patrolling, you're always looking in all your mirrors because you're seeing what the cars are doing behind you. You're looking at your radar behind you. You're looking up ahead. So we patrol 360 and we drive 360 because we're being defensive drivers, even in our personal cars. So that way, if you see a reckless vehicle coming up hot, you instantly go, okay, I see it, and you like move over or you get out of the way or something, right? You're getting ready to react, but that's because you're driving 360. So.
Yeah, and so it happens, you know what I mean? And so it's a really good point. Very interesting that you brought him on here, right?
Oh, what are the odds?
Ah, look at this. It looks like we got a video, too. Let's see what we got going on here. Now, I see a cage, right? So if something should happen, the pedestrians are safe. That's a controlled environment.
Correct.
I see a car that's driving on a track with a professional person who knows how to handle that car in a controlled environment. And we also see somebody that got first place.
That's
No.
Thank you.
So the thing is, let's go through a few different things, okay? So you wake up in the morning, you said you have a young son and your wife, you know what I mean? Hi, how's it going? All that type of stuff, right? And you know that you're doing this on that day, right?
Right.
So psychologically, when you're driving there, are you excited? Are you like nervous? Do you know how good you're gonna do? And you're like, you know what I mean? Like, are you are you confident? Like, yeah. Talk to us about that. That's what I want to know.
Well, like I said, I started racing when I was 10, so anything with racing in it gets me amped up. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. I wish I could do it more, but life gets in the way sometimes. But yeah, the Speedway is putting this race on, Battle of the Badges. It's Police Against Fire, and I'm helping promote it. There's going to be 10 races, so this was the first race that we did, and since I was help promoting, I had some tickets to give away, and yeah, I was so excited. All my family was there, all my friends were there. They know how much this means to me, how much I love doing this kind of stuff. I usually race. When I did race, it was a little bit more professional cars than these, but but these were a lot of fun. These are like a crowd pleaser. It's more of like an intermission kind of a race, but it's bringing the community together for one, and it's bringing police and fire together. They're coming out and they're watching police and fire battle it out, and it's awesome that the Speedway is actually doing this and giving back to their hometown heroes, their first line supervisors, and actually donating the cars, donating the race time, donating the safety equipment, just to help better our name and get us more in touch with the community and the community more in touch with us. And it's a great time. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. What does your badge mean to you?
Badge is I mean, that's my I joined because of the badge, and the badge is, you know, as cliche as it is, helping people. I like to make a difference. You know, I had a job before where I'd go to work, I'd clock in and out, and I did my job, I did it well, but
He made a lot of money. He made a lot of money.
What did you do before?
I worked construction before.
Okay.
So you know, working in this town, construction,
Sure.
yeah, it was
Very
booming,
lucrative.
but right.
Right. Okay.
But I came home and you know, I just felt like there's something more that I could contribute, and I hate kind of saying that because it's such a cliche statement, but it's really meaningful actually, and the people that do it and the people that say it, they say it for a reason, and going out every day, yeah, it sucks to be the bad guy writing people tickets. Nobody likes that, right? But tickets, speeding tickets, cell phone tickets, that's what stops all these pictures that we've been looking at. All right, if we cite you for speed, maybe you'll slow down for the next week, maybe day, maybe month, maybe a year. But the speed, like Trooper Wellman was saying, that's the main contributor to what you're seeing on these crashes that we're showing. So, and the cell phone, the distracted driving, yeah, oh, I pulled you over for a cell phone. Nobody's happy about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that ticket could easily stop some of these pictures that we're seeing. So it sucks in the moment getting that ticket, but that little slap on the wrist is exactly what it is in comparison to what it could have been, as far as a huge wreck or, God forbid, a fatality.
Let's touch on something that's very interesting. Okay. We know that when it comes to the troopers, unfortunately, they don't make the most money.
Yeah.
Okay, but putting that aside just for the moment, okay, it's not about the money. Okay, so the difference is this: there could be a guy or a woman that's sitting there right now who just worked a week of construction or job X and made money that they could do whatever it is that they want to do in their life. You know what I'm saying? But they don't have that fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is, that's part of the recruitment. That's part of the fact of, listen, come do a ride along with me, right? Come talk to Trooper McClarty, you know, about recruitment, right? Make a phone call right now. Go to NevadaStatePolice.com, and there's somebody there, right? Talk to us about that, because that is what's going to get somebody to join.
So if you ask any trooper or officer, that it doesn't matter what department you work for, if you ask them, why did you become a police officer? I don't think I've ever heard the answer for money. I don't think you'll ever hear that answer, because you wouldn't be a police officer, because we don't do this job for money. We do it to help others, to make a difference, for pride, to be a part of a family, something that you wake up in the morning to feel proud of what you do and knowing that you actually made a difference in your community. And a lot of us, you know, we want to protect and serve our communities. And there's this saying, we run to the danger where others run away. And there's only a select few of us that actually have that instinct, and that's why we do this career. With Nevada State Police, yes, one of our challenges is our financial means, but that's why, any job you work, it's what you make of it. And if you dwell on the negatives, and I'm not saying that this job is for everyone, if you have a family support and you don't want to struggle, blah, 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 but this job is so rewarding, and we do get a take-home car, and there's pros and cons anywhere you go, and it's what you want to focus on. But we have so much freedom at Nevada State Police. We can literally patrol anywhere in the state of Nevada. If you want to transfer up to Reno, you can transfer up to Reno. If you want to go work in Tahoe by the lake, if you like skiing, snowboarding, you can literally transfer to Tahoe and work as an officer up there. there's so much freedom and so many benefits to our agency. It's just up to you to find them. And like you said, the best way to see if we are a good fit for you, because we want to be the perfect fit for you. We don't want you to settle or be like, oh, this is the only agency that called me or this and that. No, we want people that want to be here and want that title, state trooper, because it's a pride thing. And when you wear that smoky, look at Trooper Abate wearing his smoky at the race, because it's a pride thing. He earned that smoky, because not everybody has that. And it's silly, but it's our tradition. And if you want that, like you said, NevadaStatePolice.com. We have a live recruiter on there. You can ask them any questions you want. If you want to ask about benefits, you want to ask about pay, you want to ask about incentives, Officer McClarty is more than welcome to help you right then and there. But if you really want to see what it's about, I highly recommend you come do a ride along with us. You can come down to our station, Sunset and Decatur, and you can fill out an application right there. I'll get you set up, and you can do one of our 3 shifts, day, swings, or graves. Or you can also talk to Officer McClarty on NevadaStatePolice.com, and he can set you up with a ride-along. And that doesn't mean just highway patrol. You can do a ride-along with parole and probation. You could do a sit-along with our dispatchers. You can go see what Capitol Police is like. You can talk to our officers that are a part of Governor's Detail if you want to work with the Governor's office. I mean, the opportunities are endless, and you can constantly transfer and promote, and we have canine, and we have motors. We have all these different divisions and opportunities within our agency that's just waiting for you if it's something that interests you and you want to make a difference in your community. So, I mean, it's as simple as that. Go to NevadaStatePolice.com and start talking to us today, and let's see what we can do.
The recruitment is really important. You know what I mean? We have a message of trying to save lives and doing all that, and the sub message to everything that we do is the fact of trying to find more people that are passionate, like that really want to be a trooper, and they want to be able to transfer to different parts of the Nevada State Police, and so it's really important. You know what I mean? Veteran of the Month. Now I see a lot of those stripes. What? And how many is each one of them?
I saw that.
4
And I was,
years.
How many? 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2. I mean,
I think he has 24 years, if I'm not mistaken.
here's the thing.
no, I thought it was more than that.
I
Is it
will,
more?
I will say this very, very interestingly, that I have had the
Right?
I have had the opportunity to go
28.
to a few of the retirements or the how many?
28 years. He has 12 on his arm.
28 years. So
That's the most I've ever seen.
What-
That's our
what-
chief. That's Chief Conway.
okay, so when I was able to go to the
They're 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
4 times
Well, 40,
48 years.
What? Oh my God.
48.
I did too.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
There you go. 48 years.
Okay.
So the thing that I love about the Nevada State Police is something that I see there. And the cool thing is that I was able to see it in person. And that was when Sergeant Smacka went from being a trooper to the sergeant. And all the people were there and all that type of stuff. And everybody there, all they talked about was the camaraderie. And all they talked about was the higher up would pass something down to the person below them so that they could pass it down. And so it's very important. And that's something that Nevada State Police, when I go there and I watch, they have that bond, just like you with the EVOC. They don't want to hold that information and go, oh, after you get in an accident, then I'll tell you what you did wrong. No, I want to prevent the accident and tell you what to do. So we want to give thanks to the veterans. You know what I mean? Like it's very, very important and stuff like that. And so that's what this picture is. You know what I'm saying? Right? How come he has his name and you guys don't? Is that a personal thing?
I was
Like
wondering,
he-
I was wondering that too.
He does Tony and you guys do your first name? Your
No,
first
we
letter?
don't do. Yeah, this first letter.
Okay.
Maybe they messed up on his name tag. And so he said, I'll just keep it. Don't worry about
Because
it.
he's in the office, so he doesn't have to deal with the public.
He's an admin captain up north, yeah.
Oh.
That is interesting.
Yeah,
I noticed that too.
very interesting. Okay. Well, thank you to all them. You know what I'm saying? 70-mile-an-hour winds.
Yes, it
We
was
saw
last
that
week.
the other night, right?
Yeah, that was wild.
So I'm sure people want to drive 120 miles an hour because they have nothing better to do, right? You know what I mean? They're like, oh, okay, well, I'll drive that fast. And when there's wind, we shouldn't drive fast. When the speed limit is 65, that means that's the limit of the speed, not 65 times 2. What days do you, or what shift do you work?
I work Monday through Thursday day shift.
Day shift.
You got that good shift.
Yeah, so you get the good shift. So generally speaking, would you say that there's more speeding done during the day when you're working?
Well, everybody's late to work, so they've got to speed. Yes.
Yeah. And so when you see when the people see things like this, it makes no difference, right? They still drive the same, right? Okay. So we post this up. Please just be careful. You know what I'm saying?
You know, when I saw this, I was like, oh, am I working that day? And I was like, no, I'm off. Great. I'm going to stay in my house
Right.
because that's insane. But you know what sucks, or something to take into consideration is, as troopers, you know, we work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So always, like, keep in mind, our troopers are out there working in these weathers. It doesn't matter if there's a hurricane. We're out there, right? We're the first responders. We're just like COVID. We worked every single day. We're out there. And that's part of taking the oath, you know, to protect and serve your community is you are the person that's going to the danger, that's going to be out there when others are in shelter. And, I mean, pride is not the word, but we're okay with that. Like, we know what we signed up for. And we're okay with that because if somebody's in danger or got in a crash or something, like, we're coming. It doesn't matter if there's 70-mile-per-hour winds. We're coming.
Right. And I think
You know, to
that's
help.
I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hi, Star NHP. Yeah, I need somebody. Yeah, I don't think so. Somebody's coming. You know what I mean? We'll talk to you in a couple days. You know, like, you never get that. And so I think that that's really important. You know, that it shows the consistency. And so I think that that's something that Nevada State Police really does and really responds to in a very passionate way.
Yeah, our community needs to know that they can rely on us, that we're
Yeah.
coming.
100%. 70% of pedestrian fatalities occur after dark. Well, we know that generally speaking, things don't happen good after 12:30.
That's what my parents always told me.
And so
Never heard that.
yeah, Sergeant Barachek told me that.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? And so, right. And so the thing is that when we do this, you know, let's talk about the fact of, you know, that if you're a pedestrian that is traveling in dark, right? Number one, you're not allowed on the road, or you're not allowed on the freeways, right? You're not allowed to bicycle on the freeway. I know I keep talking about, but I always see people walking on the freeway and taking a bicycle on the freeway, and so
Every day.
you know, no bicycles, no walking. You know what I mean? None of this type of stuff. And if you have to be outside and walking, for whatever the reason, you know, it's best not to wear a completely black sweatsuit. So, you know,
And walk in the crosswalks.
and walk in the crosswalks. It's not just the person who's traveling in their car, it's also the pedestrian has a responsibility too to look at where they're walking and where they're going to. And so, you know, we know that generally speaking, the Nevada State Police is generally on the highways and stuff like that. But with the joining forces and stuff like that, you know, they have a lot of passion for the school safety and stuff like that too. So, you know, and we love the 0 fatalities, right?
Oh.
Shout out to Trooper Smith for going above and beyond the badge. Yes, Trooper Smith. Let's talk about him.
Trooper Smith went and did a career day at an elementary school. It's just, this is one of those examples of just going above the badge. Like, you know, you can talk to the kids and say hello, maybe even hand out stickers and tell them what you do. But Trooper Smith made a point to, like, take pictures with them, like, hang out with them, hug the children, laugh and smile with them, and really humanize the badge and make this from a symbol of fear to a symbol of trust, and let them know that, not to fear us, that if you see us drive down the street, it's okay to wave. It actually makes our day. Like I always tell kids that my favorite thing is when you wave to me. It makes my whole day. And so you can just tell, like, the photos of him and the kids. I love it so much. And he did such a good job at the career day. And this little girl right here, she actually wants to be a police officer. She was dressed up that day as a police officer. So that's why we wanted to show it. And
Right, it's great.
those impacts, will have a lifetime of impact by how you, gave back to them at that moment.
Right. Trooper Wellman and I, we went to the school.
Oh yeah, the Coco with the Popo.
Coco with the Popo.
Okay.
Right.
Middle school.
And if I was to tell you, when I said to Trooper Wellman, what are they going to do? What are they going to do with your car? I mean, these people were in the car and and the microphone and putting on the vest and the hat and the thing and dancing and
The middle school kids are no joke.
It was the greatest. That, and everybody walked through the fire truck, like the back of the fire truck. They walked through, right?
Nice.
Like they didn't let them in the front, but they just walked through. But the thing is this: she wasn't saying, please stop. You know what I mean? Like, you're annoying me. You know what I mean? Like, I kept saying to Trooper Wellman, I'm like, they kept putting on the bulletproof vest, right? And I'm like, maybe there's, she's watching the car, and I'm like, well, maybe somebody's just gonna run off with the vest. No. You know what I mean? And so the thing is that they loved it, and the kids were there, and they were laughing, and they were joking. And so if we can convince one person who's not going to do bad things or hurt themselves or with drugs and these things, because they see a woman and they go, oh, that's what I want to be, or a man, and they go, that's what I want to be. It's so important. You know what I mean? And so congratulations to what he does, and it's wonderful. And again, I love the fact that, it's not just about the badge; it's about doing something above and beyond that. And so it's very special. All right, Trooper Wellman sent me this because they're doing the car seat thing. You have how old is your child?
He's almost 2.5.
Okay, so you do the car seat.
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
So when Trooper Wellman has her daughter and does the car seat, and so it's very, very important, and a lot of people don't. I was watching my program last night. I watch the live police thing, on the TV.
Sure.
We don't mention the names, right? And so the officer pulls the person over because they decided that they wanted to cut through like a gas station or whatever to avoid the red light.
The private drive.
Right? So, and so he pulls him over and he goes, you lost almost control of your car, right? So he's really mad. So he walks up to the car and he looks at the lady and he goes, what's going on here? The lady was driving. They had a person she had a friend or whatever in the front seat with an infant. And she's holding the infant. And so the officer says, he's very polite and all this. She started explaining, I'm sorry, this and that. I only live down the road. And he goes, listen, I don't care. Like maybe I can help you with a ticket or, like I'm not going to. But this car is going nowhere unless that child is in a safety seat, in a seat. And so, they are gracious enough that they're going to be giving the car seats away, right? Trooper Wellman, talk to us about this.
Yeah, so Lieutenant Zink from School Police actually reached out to me and told me that they're going to be putting this on this Saturday. Not only if you need to come get your car seat checked, but if you need a car seat, you can come to this event. There's multiple locations. And they will actually provide you with a free child seat. It's a ginormous donation because we want all of our children in town to be safe.
Yeah, and Lieutenant Zink is the PIO for the Clark County School District Police, right? We've had him on here. Mm-hmm. And, they want to put this so that, the people will stop putting children and holding them. You know what I mean?
Sometimes car seats, financially, it's hard to obtain one, especially as your child grows. If you don't have one that grows with them, you have to keep getting a new one. So we want you to know that there are resources out there where this can never be an option and not have your child in a car seat. Contact your local police departments, your hospitals, your fire departments, and we will find you a car seat if that's the issue. Don't ever put your child in that situation.
Yeah,
Well, even if you have a car seat, like these new car seats, they're confusing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you might think that you're putting it in correctly, but Trooper Wellman can attest to this. The cars that we stop, they might have the right equipment, and they might have good intentions of installing it correctly, but a lot of them are installed incorrectly, and they really do little to nothing if they're not installed correctly. So just coming down to the event and just validating that what you're doing is correct or not is essential just in itself.
Yeah, 100%. And if somebody can't make it, there's somebody at the Nevada State Police that if somebody comes down and that can help them. And then we found out that you can go to like a hospital, to help, to
Fire station, or you could come to our office.
Yeah, it's really important. We protect the children, and so that's a good point on that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the only thing that we haven't talked about, which I'll ask, but you don't have to talk about, is you were there when the Trooper Michael May was, because you were on the day shift.
I was. I wasn't 100% involved in it. I came right before he was struck. I was working on some curriculum for EVOC training, so I was in the office doing some work before I actually went out on the road. But yeah, I was there, part of it.
Because of your training and things like that, you understand when someone puts their life in someone else's in harm's way, right? So do you ever come back from that? Like, how do you feel like that you were in the office and not on the road or anything like that?
Yeah, when you have this job, I think I could speak for everybody. You feel like you personally can do something. So not being there right next to him or not being within that pursuit, that bothers me. Kind of like 1 October. I was coming in from out of town, and I was teaching the day prior our EVOC, which was on the outskirts of town, and it didn't work out for me to be a part of that, but that bothers me, because when you take this career, the kind of people that this career is looking for, they have that mentality that they can do something and they want to do something, and when they can't, when their hands are tied for whatever reason, it's bothersome.
Yeah. And so I only bring it up, with some of the troopers, like some of them want to talk about it, and the reason that I want to talk about it is because I know sometimes it's a little bit harder to talk about, and so coming on the Trooper Talk where we're a little bit more open, sometimes makes it a little bit more easier to open up and things like that, and so that's the reason that we bring it up. We really provided something that we've been asking for, to be able to explain, about the training and the course and what it is that you do, because your name gets brought up a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Cool.
And so, obviously we're very proud of you and very proud of what it is that you do for the training, because you really keep all the troopers safe. You know what I mean? So
Thank you. My pleasure.
we always say that we love you and we appreciate you in every way. So thank you very much.
Thank you.